Yenge, yenge, Bayete Nkosi, Luciemi, Bana Betu. Once again, I come before you humbly as your servant. I've interacted with a few people lately on my comment. I want to Kukwisa Yambote. Welcome to another teaching. We're going to go even more deeper today with some revelations. I've been watching what some people are posting, and I'm looking at other things, and all praises to Tata nZambi. The nZolele has been flowing really well, and I'm glad that I can continue to the Holy Spirit. The nZolele has beginning to reveal many things now as we prepare for the harvest. A major harvest is coming, and we're going to be hopefully preparing ourselves when the list becomes active. The world will now then be able to see the difference between those who were chosen and those who are not. But of course, there's some other things to come before that, and we must prepare ourselves accordingly. So, Luciemi, Luvubamu, Yala. Okay, all praises. Cumbia, Cumbia. I'm gonna sing this song correctly today a little bit. That they have made us change it, and people don't understand it. It never mean come by here, because it's not kumbi. It's not the same as come, which is when English say come to us, come over here. Kumbi means to rise. So kumbi or and they say kumbai because they changed it to the I because of the eye of Horus. And they said, my Lord, because you're worshiping Baal, is why they made us change it to him. But it was kumbiam, kumbia Yave, kumbia Yambe, kumbia Yambe, or Yave, kumbia, oh Mfumu Yave, kumbia. Okay, it was a Bantu song, a Muntu song to call upon Tata nZambi to rise us up. Okay, but because of the imposters and the things that happened with all the slavery and everything, they made us change it, and now people are singing it all wrong, and because they don't know that things have been altered. But we'll get into that. Osikameni, how are everybody doing? Yenge Keno, peace to you. Salama, Betwabu, Mbote Dumalang, Asante Sana. All praises to Tata nZambi and Pungo Kembo, hallelujah. We're coming once again. One of the things that we're going to talk about that many people have such a misunderstanding about the West is, first of all, none of the knowledge that the Europeans learned is what they think it is. Okay. I should know. I was a history minor in college. I've listened to many different professors, and they've already, when you go to college, this is when you learn that they lied to you in high school. Okay, that's one of the biggest things. On top of that, many people who run the historical, mathematical, and scientific organizations in many colleges are coded, meaning that they are involved with the societies, the secret societies. Okay. You may not know that, but they ain't gonna tell you that. Okay. But even the first school board in Philadelphia that was formed for public education was founded through Freemason. Okay. The Knights Templars knowledge itself, and I'm going to get into that, comes from Bantu culture and Babylonian historical knowledge all the way down to Canaan and the Library of Alexandria. I'll tell you why it was burned. They're not going to tell you the real story. Okay. And many of the reasons why, because see, people forget that before the Catholic Church existed and Rome was considered the Holy Roman Empire, they were the Roman Empire, which means that they dominated the earth at that time, including African nations. They could see, because of the coded people, they have lied about the Roman Empire and where they have been and where they have not been. They've also lied about the Egyptian Empire, okay? About where the Egyptian empire has been. They also lied about the Canaanite Empire, and they lied about what happened before the flood, okay? Because Satan has deceived the whole world, okay? So my teaching for today is going to be based on historical knowledge, is also, deceptive. It's all, history is the lies agreed upon, period. 1000%. Europeans, that's why when I talked to a lady I talked to some people who come from Europe, they are really they know very well that Americans are dumbed down about their history because of the concept of why they did this was because you were not supposed to know that the U.S. is, in fact, the hammer of the earth from Babylon, from Daniel 7:25. I mean, not Daniel 7, but Daniel 7, Daniel 12, forget, from Daniel. And they're also the seventh kingdom in the Revelation 17, okay? The biggest deception that they ever taught was what it was about the 1600s, the 1700s, and the 1800s. When they started teaching history in the 1900s, they erased everything that was happened before, and they made a new history. Okay? This is what people don't understand. In the early 1900s, American history got changed. Big time. Because they wanted to hide the truth about the Americas, the South Americas, Africa, what they knew about Africa, what they knew about Europe. All these things had to be erased so that they would create a civilization of ignorance. Okay? That's the whole reason why they created entertainment and all the other things that they did, was because they had to have the intimidation factor in place for the people who lived in the 1800s. You will not talk about the 1800s the way you remember it. This was the whole reason why they took Native Americans to these schools with their children and indoctrinated them. And the Catholic Church had schools like this, okay? Many people don't understand the Spanish and everything. They had these type of schools, Portuguese. And the concept was to do the neuralizer about history and what was here, because the world doesn't understand that they had to remove the fallen angels from the history books. Okay. This is the whole concept of why they slay dragons and everything, the Viking stuff, all the stuff that they did in Europe, all these things that they worship. They had to do the neuralizer. That's when everything started to become mythology. Okay. when it really wasn't mythology, it was dumbing downness or dumbing downs mentally. Okay, I'm going to play the song. We'll get started. I don't own the rights. I don't know. I don't have all of the the. I don't have any of the rights or the distribution or any of the copyrights, and I'm not here to redistribute this. This is all for the purpose of edification. Because we're gonna get into even the Boston Tea Party was fake. Even the fact when they said they dressed up like Native Americans to make it look like they did it, even that part was staged, and we'll get into that. Boom, boom, boom. Boom, 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 boom. Kimbo, hallelujah. My wife's going to be frustrated because I'm doing another video. Kimbo, hallelujah. Bayeti. I won't take too long. All praises to Tata nZambi and Mfumu. Family, once again, as we talk about this subject, we're going to discuss the fact that many people this is why everything is designed to be forgetful or not really pay attention, or designed for you to learn the way they choose to teach you. The knowledge comes from various misconcepts that people don't understand. And so, we're going to talk about the colonization process because, see, sadly, the biggest lie about colonialism is thinking that the Europeans didn't know who or what they were doing, okay? First of all, colonization was not coming from the concept that many people believe. had nothing to do with what they have told you about history, about colonialism. Okay. This is part of the lie. Colonialism was a much bigger agenda than what the people who actually were involved in it even know. Okay. This is why many people don't even know why the whites people showed up in the first place. Okay. It's a lot, it goes deep. Okay. I'm going to talk about, once again, the culture of Babylon. Okay. We know from those of us that are in this awakening that the false Messiah spirit starts with Cain. Okay. When the Most High was upset with all the things that the seed of Cain had done and the wickedness of humanity, he brought destruction and hit the reset button. Okay. Because the reality is, and this is the part that many people don't get, is the first woman, the real first woman, and her connection to the Watchers and the fallen ones and her wicked children that she created wanted to ensure that the fall of Adama would never be rectified, and his wife Eva. Okay, the first sins, that this process of salvation, okay, would never be realized. So the intent was, once the creation fell, there would be no way to undo it. Okay. And this is where everything starts. What was decided, okay, and I'm going to talk about this. First of all, we know, for those who have been paying attention and know this, when Tata nZambi created this creation, it was one massive continent, which then had land surrounding on the outside with extra land, okay, that was designed to maintain the creation that was made, okay, and the waters and the firmament and everything that was there, and to hold it was a veil, and those who operated it, you know, were in place to operate the stars and all the various creation had entities working it that the world doesn't understand. Maleki Congo they were all Maleki Congo at that time, and everything was being done in an orderly fashion according to what was designed through the creators, with Tata nZambi as the head, okay? King Kongo Yambe, the creator of heavens and earth, okay? Now, the purpose of what was instituted as the plan after the fall of Adama and his wife Eva, and even the deception of Lily, okay? It was called the poison apple or the forbidden knowledge. That's why they have modified the Genesis story to not include the wicked witch with the poison apple. And the Snow White concept is the way that they put Eva, to sleep by poisoning her. Okay, and of course, the whole concept of the Prince Charming is for someone better than Adama who messed up, in a sense, to wake her up. This is people don't get this, where this concept really comes from. Looking for my Prince Charming to bring me out of my sleep, because it represents the bride that was stolen once again by the wicked one. Because see, Eva, the reason why Eva was so important is she was a bride representation of King Congo, of the Most High. Because this is the grooming the bride, okay, of the beginning. It was supposed to be Lillian and Adama. She said no, so it became Eva. So the concept was they wanted to steal this union, mess it up, okay, because the fallen one had decided he wasn't going to let himself be below this creation. So from there, the poison apple knowledge started to spring forth, which then would become the cube, which would be brought down to Mount Hermon to be distributed to the seed of Cain and others. Adama's knowledge would be taught to the seed of Seth, the righteous lineage, and was never supposed to be combined. Okay. Now, because the she-devil was a stealer of men's souls and everything, she always was enticing this stuff. She used her and the fallen ones, they used their magical influence to fabricate many things under false pretenses. Because Tata nZambi had given his knowledge, the righteous path, and the way that we needed to work. And the whole concept was everything was to mess that up. Okay. What people don't understand is the forbidden knowledge is what was being taught to all the nations after the flood, with the 10 generations from Noka to Abana, that caused many things to be incorrect and mess up because once again, it was the concept to stop the salvation that was going to be prepared to the Most High. Okay. Now, of course, he appointed kings, he appointed queens, he appointed different people. And of course, it was always the intent of these false gods to mess that up every time that the Most High was involved, to ruin it. Okay. This is why you have so many different modifications of the scriptures. This is why you now have knowledge that people have learned that, because everything did start in Embo, which then later become the center of Africa, because there was a kingdom of Congo before the flood, okay, that got mixed up with Cain then, okay, when the devil pretended to be Adam. Okay, this is when they came, that they were told to stay above and don't come down and mix. And of course, the devil messed that up. Okay, this is all part of the other scriptures that they forgot. They say, oh, these are the forgotten books because the harlot told them to forget these books. This is how you know this is all part of the deception. Before I go any further, I forgot to do this. Kemba Tata nZambi Mfumu Father, and by it, Kosi Kemba, hallelujah. Tata nZambi, we give honor to you, to the Mondavelala, to Kusokongo, the Mondavelala, to the Pemba Kalunga, Yengi Pemba Kalunga. Pemba Kalunga, continue to help and guide us in this time to learn more about our ways of the Most High and to do the righteous path. Thank you. Okay. So, Muntu, Bana Betu, our stories were always passed down from Adama. And here's what you don't understand that many people don't get. The offspring or the Anunnaki, what they call Anunnaki, Nephilim, whatever you want to call these people, their role was to run interference and tell false stories about the truth, about what really happened, about the way things were supposed to be, and how things. This is why I tell you, be careful with the people talking about millions and thousands and all these other types of years, because that stuff actually comes from them. Because this is what the scientific community doesn't understand. All science and mathematics, and I'm going to show you, comes from Samaria. And this is what was taught then. Now, remember, our ancestors, we ended up in Babylon, part of Mesopotamia. We ended up in all these different places and regions. And what people don't understand is the knowledge that was taught comes from these gods based upon the way they were taught. Okay? This is why you must be careful what you're researching. Because when you go to research many different things about Africa and the world, you can connect to these spirits. And now you will be in their mind of thinking and not the Most High's way. This is what has already happened to the heathens. This is why they believe the way they believe. This is why they under the spell of the rabbit, the magic rabbit. Yeah, okay. All civilizations that were not of the Most High were started by the fallen angels and the Anunnaki. They were involved in this creation. Now, as I said in a video before, all of these gods were black. It was the Most High's judgment that started to change skin tone. Okay? Because he started to separate those who were not his from himself. That's why his image has been altered and many things were altered. Okay? That's why there's technically no such thing as non-melanated people, because they know, okay, for those that know, they know where they come from. The others are all, they're neuralized, okay? They don't get it. They have been dumbed down for generations. Their history has been lost, and only those who rule them know the history. That's why they teach them a fabricated interpretation of it, okay? Everything is designed on this earth when it comes to the nations that existed, to where they learned what they were told and took it as fact for those who were manipulating them. because there was always this hierarchy of we're on top, you're on the bottom, we are the rulers, you are the peasants. This was always Shaitani's um, concept, okay? Which was completely opposite of the Most High, where we are Makanda, we are family. I am the head of the family, and our job is to share, okay, the Most High's blessings together, okay? And that's why he told us don't learn the ways of the heathen, because they're not like that, okay? The independent nature is actually satanic. Oh, I'm independent now. I can do it on my own, whatever. That's not the Most High's way. We always were supposed to be a unified body or family. And here's where the problem started is, like Kepha says in the 2 Peter, because of the false spirits that were before and were among us, we became divided, okay? Because Shaitani's children were all over the earth and the Most High had separated us from them, okay, that was all his kingdom. Even though it looked like it was divided, they were on the same side, okay? This is why when Kuswa Kongo said, a house divided against itself cannot stand, okay? But remember, Shaitani's world is always chaos, and he brings order out of that, okay? It was always like this, order out of the chaos. And it was always what order? His order, okay? That nZambi's world was not about like that. His world is to be at peace, okay? And have dominion in peace with his chosen, okay? His kingdom is supposed to be at peace. Now, here's what people don't understand. The forbidden knowledge makes it to where you have no peace. So that's why every civilization that ever used this knowledge was always at war. Whenever you took the poison apple from the witch and the cube knowledge and this stuff type of knowledge from these beings, you would not have peace, because this knowledge required a price, a high price to pay for you to receive it, because the devil don't. That's why he's like, hey, I'm here about making, I'm here about stealing and buying souls. What you gonna give me? He's a soul stealer. Okay, this is why, you know, you sell your soul to the devil for knowledge. So people don't get his knowledge, you got to pay for and sell your soul to get it. Okay? That the nZambi's knowledge is meant to help his family, the Makanda, to be taught in such a way that we learn from one another in order to be unified in Kintwati. Okay? Now, the whole concept of the monetary system, who do you think that started with? And this is what you got to understand. The whole purpose of when Cain's seed started to use this concept, okay, and you're going to see how this works. That the nZambi did not want us to be involved with the way that those things were done. So he had his own set of rules. Okay, when you see them doing this, you don't do that. This is how we do it. It's a different system. We take care of one another with how I run my system. You don't leave people out in the cold like they do, okay? This is what people don't get. Our job was to take care of one another. Their job was to fend for themselves. Because, see, that's what happened when they got cut off from the Most High. Every man for himself. This is where it comes from. So then when they started to worship the false gods and wouldn't come back to the Most High, this is, the devil made this into a game. Okay? To where he would laugh and celebrate and benefit off of their folly of competing against one another the way that they did. And I know we had our way of competing, okay, and we had our way of doing things, but it wasn't for the same process as what the non-Bantu people, Bakongo, nZambi, did. Okay. This is where everything about their concept became about a trophy. This is where the trophy hunter comes in. This is where trophy wife, trophy this, trophy that, everything's for a trophy. Comes from when the devil said, whoever is going to be the best, I'll give you this trophy. Started a long time ago. Okay. The concept of the dragon is incorporated into this, where they would make one for them to fight to see who can be the king and be that's where the Game of Thrones comes into play, and all the different type of shape shifting, because I'm telling you, man, this is where we talk about shapeshifters. Okay. Their job was to prove who was worthy, okay, of the knowledge, of the power, of the wisdom. And these families began to form over generations of time. They did it in the days of Noka, they did it again. But of course, back then you still had the giants, which we still have these, they hide this fact, there were still giants now. Okay. The giants were the ruling families of many of the children of Cain and others. Okay. What the world does not comprehend is the knowledge and the history post-flood had to eliminate what happened, what they were doing, what they did, and what was going on. Because the people had to be tricked, because they came from Kama. This is why you guys gotta get this whole thing about Ham that people are learning out of your head. Because the harlot played a role in this. Okay. She tricked, this is why the Canaanite people started to have their problem, is she tricked them into what happened after she made Norca drunk, to go and start get him and do what they did to start this process again to stop the salvation. That's why in the apocalypse of Adama that they took out, Norca says, my children don't have nothing to do with this. It's the ones who remember the giants that survived the flood that they're not telling you. It's those children, the people who are hiding up in the clouds. It's them. Okay. They started once again to teach or to do things that were against the Most High's way. Okay. Now, once again, just like he did with Adama and Eva, that was a test question. Because, see, the problem is he knew that the Canaanites had started to do things that they should not. Okay? And they needed to make the house of Norca become divided. Remember, a house divided against itself cannot stand. So they needed Norca's children to once again start to disobey Tata nZambi. Okay? This is where the shapeshifters played their game once again to deceive men, to deceive women. Okay? And in that process, the 10 generations from Norca started to become corrupt to where they receded, they left these people, they left them in the hands of the fallen ones. And that's why Tata nZambi was bringing the judgment upon their houses. Okay? Right up until we have Nimrod that was chosen, the Most High took him, go kill these giants. His mother played a trick on him because he came just like what happened with Cain. He was conceived in a similar fashion. He was the son of the she-devil with Cush, okay, in the form of Semiramis. So at first, kind of like what happened with King Solomon, he was doing the Most High's way, but he was like Cain in thought. Okay, he was still wicked from the beginning. Like he was like Esau. Okay, so then his heart was turned when his mother tricked him and said, "No, you need to stop this and go kill the big guy, the creator." Okay, so that we can rule this earth. But see, all during this time, they were teaching the knowledge in Babylon of false gods, okay? This is where our ancestors learned things that we should not have known. Because remember, even though Abana, Abraham, separated himself, the other children of Samu, Shem, were still being corrupted until Esau killed Nimrod. That's the whole reason why Mfumu, Shem, did what he did. Because once the Most High had begun the process of purifying the lineage, they needed to, what? Take care of those who were creating problems. So the Most High called upon Mfumu to go after the Anunnaki and all of them and start changing in favor of the kingdom of Congo to be on top. Okay. Now, did this knowledge that these beings were and this was all happening in Africa, Embo, all over, because it was one huge continent everywhere. Because see, what they're not telling you is there were the giants. They copied the whole bombing and stuff. They think it come from Kemet, Egypt. No, it came from Adama. When they buried Adama, okay, they started the tradition with him, with the way they would do things. Remember the giants, this is the lie they're not telling you, okay? They are offsprings of Adama, who were the ones where he said they're like unto spit, because they came from the daughters of women, of the people on the earth, who were mixing with the Maleki Shaitani, who made the oath. So this is why the biggest lie they have been teaching people is, oh, God loves everybody, when you don't even know that many people on this earth are formed the same way, mixed with fallen angels. Again, like it said, like what happened in the days of Adama will happen again. That's why even when you confront the Catholic Church about it, oh, we don't have any proof of this. Because why? They are working for them. So they're not going to admit it. Okay? So now what people don't understand is the history and science that comes from the imposters will always be the poison apple and be wrong compared to what Tata nZambi teaches his knowledge. The King Congo, Yave Congo, taught us a righteous knowledge, and we mixed it. This is what happened, but we keep getting sent into captivity. Well, don't do that. We kept not learning. Don't mix this with that. Don't do that. Okay? There's a righteous way to make things, and there's a poison apple way to do things. The poison apple concept that the world is now being taught starts back in Canaan in Mesopotamia, and also hit the Hittites, and also Babylon and Edom. Okay? So let's get to, let me talk about, let's get into it. I don't have to be too long. Okay. Sambote once again. Sorry, I'm not trying to have to go through it. And I might have to break this up because I know this is going to be something that people don't get, because you have been under a spell for so long. Let's go back to the legend of the legend of Yaoundé. Okay. All right. So this is where all the stuff started, where because you see, even India's mentioned in this. All right. The South fell to the lot of Ham. Okay. When we say the South, that's South America, that's Africa, that's that region. Now, people don't know that Australia and what they want to call Antarctica was actually part of Japhet. Okay. And the north became the inheritance of Yapeta. The land of Kama is hot. Yapeta is cold. But in Semu is neither hot nor cold. Its temperature is hot and cold mixed. So he had a lot of the middle of the earth. Okay, you know, that the regions that have that. This division of the earth took place toward the end of the life of Peleg. The name given to him by his father, this is what they said, the Ebe, it's not Eber, who, being a prophet, knew the division of the earth would take place in the time of his son. The brother of Peleg was called Yoktan because the duration of his life, man was shortened. The life of men was shortened in his time. This is when the Most High dropped it to where you wouldn't live past maybe 200 years old or so. Because it used to, because remember how Samuel was over 500 some years old. Okay. In turn, the three sons of Noka, while they were still standing in the present, let me go back. While they were still standing in the presence of their father, divided each his portion among the children. Noka, threatening with his curse any who would stretch out his hand to take a portion not assigned to him by lot. So see, this is where they're not telling you the full story of Genesis. When you go to try to take somebody else's land that was not assigned, there was curses involved. Okay? So ingeta. That's what so be it. Amen, amen. Okay? Thus were divided 104 lands and 99 islands among 72 nations, each with a language of its own, using 16 different sets of characters for writing. Now, what you must understand is the 70 languages had a mother tongue, Kikongo, that everybody knew it at this time. Okay? What you must understand, and this is not what they're telling the truth about the Tower of Babel, is the Tower of Babel made it to where nobody could understand each other anymore. All of the people could understand the mother tongue. When it says the earth was one language, well, yeah, because it was the Kikongo, everybody knew it. Okay? What happened was the Tower of Babel made it to where now you don't understand each other no more. You don't speak it. Your languages are confounded. You don't remember. You used to speak this, you know, okay? This is what people don't understand. It says here, Yapeta was allotted 44 lands, 33 islands, 22 languages, and 5 kinds of writing. Kama received 34 lands, 33 islands, 24 languages, and 5 kinds of writing. And Semu, 26 lands, 33 islands, 26 languages, and 6 kinds of writing. One set of written character was more to Semu than either of his brothers, the extra set being Kikongo. It was Kikongo. Not no Hebrew, because that language did not exist. Kongololo. The land appointed as the inheritance of the 12 sons of Yakubi was provisionally granted to Canaan, Sidon, Het, Jebusites, the Amorites, the Girgashites, the Hivites, the Archites, the Sinites, the Avrites, the Semarites, and the Hamathites. It was the duty of these nations to take care of the land until the rightful owners should come. Think about that. Who are the rightful owners? No sooner, okay, this is where we were given the land of nZolele. No sooner had the children of Noka and their children taken possession of the habitation apportioned to them, that the unclean spirits began to seduce men and torment them with pain and all sorts of suffering, leading to spiritual and physical death. So once again, this goes back to what happened, okay, when the Most High said, what's going on? Hey, my kids didn't do it. It's these wicked things, okay, that started to do this. Upon the entreaties of Noka, Tata nZambi sent the Maleki Raphael. This is why he's the angel of healing. Raphael is really, now again, this is where the word laugh comes from. Hello. This was an L, not an R, in the Bantu languages. Lafaya. Lafaya nZambi. Lafa nZambi. Raphael, because L, I told you, that's all the Shaitani, then he changed the names. He changed the name of Tata nZambi's Malekis when he took over the earth with the L. That's why Michael knows Makaya, okay? This is the thing that happened. The L came and the Yah that switched. And his fallen angels were the L, the house of L. Okay? There's the house of El and the house of Yah. But it's Yah Congo. Okay? So during this time, Mount Hermon is the house of El. Mount Zioni is the house of Yah, Kongo. Bana Betu, house of nZambi and Mfumu. The other half was the house of Shetani. That's it. That's how the earth was. So people don't realize you're so stupid now because you don't get it. This is how it always was. It never changed. The countries, the Most High had his house, Shetani had his house, but his house was divided and competing against one another, but on the same side. Okay, because he was keeping himself from people knowing. Oh, he couldn't let people know they worshiping the devil, so he kept putting the good gods and the bad gods, but really the bad gods were masquerading, and they were not. They were all bad. Okay. All right. So, who banished 9/10 of the unclean spirits from the earth, leaving but 1/10 of the mastema to punish sinners through them. Okay, this is when they went into prisons. Banishment means you go to the outer darkness, where there's gnashing of teeth, wailing, wherever the Most High sends you, realms, these are realms they get banished to. But he left some that were left to punish sinners, because we had to be, when we do wickedness, we had to get punished. We had to be, that's why we told you, all sicknesses and diseases come from the wicked, even though the Most High is behind it as a curse. Okay, you do the Most High will, you get a curse. Now, listen to this. This is why we know modern day medicine is a lie. At that time, revealed Noka all the remedies residing in plants, that he might resort to them at need. Noka recorded them in the book, which he transmitted to his son Mfumu. This is the source to which go back to all the medical books, whence, now pay attention, the wise men of India, Aram, Macedonia, and Gipiti draw their knowledge. Now, who in this society, in these societies, is the keeper of that knowledge? The wicked Anunnaki that they call Hermes, which before was called Thoth, which is before that was called Nergal. It was a deceiver. He knew alchemy that was given to him by the Watchers, that was then distributed to the sons of men. That when they say, oh, they taught how to do these things with the cut the roots and all this other stuff, okay, how to make swords and everything, and like Tubal Cain was involved with this, okay. This is where these type of things were known before the days of Noah, and you see the Most High did it again after. Okay. The sages of India devoted themselves primarily to the study of curative tree. Okay, it talks about this. This Macedonian sage, accompanied by 40 learned magicians. Now see, 40 learned magicians. That's why it's called pharmakia. Journeyed from country to country until they came to the land beyond India. They hoped to find some wood and tree. When they arrived at the spot, now you're gonna see where they talk about the dude, the people who do the yoga and all these other things, the mantra and stuff. Okay, this is what they know. The Macedonian sages were the Hippocrates. Where do you hear this name at? You hear this name in the Greeks. You take the Hippocratic oath as a doctor. This is where it comes from. the discography of Baala, Baal. Okay, and the bound, it was really bound to Asa, Aesop fables, okay. Yapeta appointed 3 princes over each of the 3 groups: Nimrod of the descendants of Kama, Yaktan for the descendants of Nsamu, and Fenech for the descendants of Yapeta. 10 years before Noka's death, the number of these subjects to the 3 princes anointed to millions. When this great concourse of men came to Babylonia upon their journeys, they said to one another, "Behold, the time is come when at the end of days, neighbor will be separated from neighbor and brother from brother, and the one will carry war against the other." Bam. Here's all your wars, people, of the world that's happening right now, that the Bantu people were not supposed to be a part of, but we were supposed to teach these nations, just like what happened with Methuselah and Hanoka, that they want to call Enoch, because there was an Enoch and there was a Hanoka, okay, to make peace. That's why Solomon, he was able to make peace in the time that he was king. But once again, you had the issue, okay, of where the nations, he turned against the nation, the fallen angel turned, he got turned, and everything went back into chaos. Okay? Usokongo, Yesaya, his role was to fulfill the promise. Okay? And if you think I'm wrong, then if he's not the one, then why is they mocking him as Donkey Kong? Why are they calling him the Cowardly Lion in the Wizard of Oz? Why are they doing all these things to mock him over here in America, where Shaitani runs Hollywood? Okay, King Kongo, King Kong, Donkey Kong, because he wrote it on a donkey, Kosana, okay? They know that he did exactly what he came to do for his job, and he never sinned against Tata nZambi. Okay? He knew his limits to never pass, to break the Most High's law. That's why he was found worthy of the position that he was given. Okay? This is the part of the reason why, when you look at the time frame when this was going on, Rome was running the world. So they knew African history, because they had knowledge of the Library of Alexandria. This is where the secret societies got involved after, because later the centurions who guarded the emperor became the Knights Templar who guarded the Pope. The cardinals, or the Senate that used to run Rome became the cardinals. This is what people don't understand. They used to take the knowledge out of Egyptity and bring it to Rome before the Kuswa Congo was even born. Yisu. You have the story of Cleopatra and what is his name? Mark Antony. Okay, who killed Caesar? Who kills the Brutus and Cassius, honorable men? Who killed Caesar? Why did they kill Caesar? Man, y'all gonna find out A lot of this history, you think you know, you don't know. You have to understand, people, that in this time frame, not all of the Greeks and the Romans were white. They do a lot of recreating people in the bust images of false people. I'm going to give you an example. This is the god that they refer to in the movie Troy as Achilles. Achilles was not white, but he turned himself white later, because this is the type of things that they did. Because when I was listening to the story about when Farrakhan was talking about when they bring Black people into Freemasonry, that they make them repeat what the Arabs did to the modified white people that went to the mountains of Europe and whooped them and beat them because they were creating chaos in the land of the Persians and the Ishmaelites, who were actually Arabs or Black, okay? Across the burning sands, he talked about it. I've never been a part of that, I don't know, but because they went across the desert. Well, why was there a desert even then? Was already because of what Nimrod was doing to Abana. The Most High created the desert to stop the pursuit of Abraham, who was supposed to be left alone so that he could go and do what he needed to do. And that's when Esau took him out after Mfumu said enough is enough. Okay? And then he cut him into pieces and sent him to all of the kings of the earth. They didn't find the hand in his, you know what, and he had to use a hook. His eye was already gone. This is where all this stuff's come from with the pirate garbage, because he was a thief of souls and people. And he was turned into a leper. Okay? For all of his sins. The Anunnaki gods suffered the same fate as him and many others. Just like when the people who got changed that came from Atlantis, okay? What they did is revenge for the treatment because they were the slaves of many of the nations. Remember, Canaan, many Canaanites became lepers. And remember, the curse was they would become what? They would serve they would serve the other nations. Okay? This is all the Anunnaki false gods, because of Lilith. They always use revenge as the motivation to recompense the Most High for his judgments. So they would teach us knowledge that was like the Most High, but wasn't the complete knowledge, which is what the Muntu had that allow us to operate like the gods. This is where they hide this concept. We were like the gods already. We were like Maliki Kongo. What was happening was we allowed that status, okay, to puff us up. That was the whole purpose for why the Most High had to say to Gideon, I only want 300 people to go up against the Xerxes, because then they'll think they did it themselves. So they would see that they were completely outnumbered and that the Most High had to be the one to deliver the victory, or else they would think that they did it. He was always talking about this. The Muntu, the Bana Congo, the nZambi, our problem was because we were like gods, we would get arrogant about it. Okay? Because we were above others, and this was always our biggest weakness. We started acting the way these false gods were acting around their people. Okay? Where you're so smart, you're stupid. And this is what is going on even in the world today. People are so smart, they're stupid that they don't even see how ignorant they really are, that the knowledge that they're actually doing is the poison apple and not the Most High's way. That's why you can't tell them anything about what they believe, because they think they know it all. Because they're not humble like they want supposed to be. They're not, they're proud, they are hypocritical. Because this is who they always were among their beliefs. They're arrogant, you see the partiers and everything. People don't think that this is all generational. They just calmed it down within the last 100 years so you wouldn't pay attention that this is who you always were, okay? And they started to make you believe things that really didn't happen the way it did, because they know the United States came from the Moors and what they knew they were building this mystery Babylon and not countries. So they fabricated and staged a lot of things to make it look like the people who lived among them were the chosen. When they were laughing at them, like, no, we know who the chosen are. You guys are stupid. Okay? All along, they already knew. They had lied, like what happened with the church. The Catholic Church knew all along that they had stolen the truth, but they didn't teach their people that. That's why they had to always be at war with us who knew that. Okay? And that's why they could never let us be settled with the Most High so that we would overcome them. Plus, scriptures have to be fulfilled that were written down that people don't know. Okay? We had to go to captivity again. That was expected. Because the one thing that Tata nZambi makes very clear is he will always humiliate those who think they can beat him, that think they will win. Even to the point where he told him you get thrown in the fire. Oh, they didn't burn. Okay? They get thrown in the lion's den. Oh, the lion didn't eat them. Y'all still don't learn. Okay? He has to embarrass the haughty so that they will see how stupid they are to think that they can win every time, to where even you become a sacrificial pawn. That's why Abana was like, okay, let him throw them in the fire. This is my sacrificial pawn. And then and then nothing happened. What? We lost. He didn't die. Okay? This was the whole concept with why the Messiah was, when Kuso Kongo said, okay, I'm going to prove to you. There's no way you could kill me the way you think. I choose. No, this can't be right. We can take you out. The Sanhedrin never learned. These people, because see, they were worshiping, they were coming from the Syria, the Aramaic and all that stuff, connected to the Hittites and the Edomites, like Rome was Edomites. And they were using the law to gain wealth, to be powerful, to be, prestige, while Rome was still in charge. Okay? That's why he came and said, you teaching the children how to disobey the law, because guess what? They're benefiting from it. It's always been like that. They knew. Okay? So the reason why, and this has always been the case for those who were doing iniquity or sin against the Most High, is they caught on to the fact that the devil will pay you more for being disobedient. And this is what causes the mistreatment. Okay? When the Most High said, you don't even get it, you get way more than that. You don't even know. And see, this is the deception that has continued to plague the heathens when they're sitting there fighting for the riches that their gods were dangling, okay, above them, okay, all this time. They still playing the same game, but they just changed the rules. And they changed the gods' names again. So they don't get it. It's still the same mess from Canaan to Babylon to Mesopotamia, China, India, all these different things, Rome, Greece. This is the same game. But now they're doing it in the name of Jesus, which is really another name for Nimrod. Okay? Or in the name of Allah, or whatever they call in, and they stole the name Yave, of course, okay? Or Jehovah, or in the name of science. Scientology. Oh my gosh, it's this knucklehead right here. When they're talking about Scientology, okay, this is the God of Scientology. You see him carrying the symbol, you see it on the doctors? He's the one that took the book that I just mentioned in the Gospel of the Jews, the Yaoundé, where the Most High gave, that Noka wrote down all of the ways to heal, that Raphael taught, that the Holy Spirit knows. And then let's put it like this, the same way you do illegal drug is the same way they're doing the legal drug, cutting it. You know how they cut pure heroin and then they do the same thing. Because he's an alchemist. He did, and see, back in the days of antiquity, he was giving them potions and, oh yeah, this is going to get rid of this. And he was taking what was given to Noka that was in Samu, because see, this is how foolish we were. Every time we went into captivity, these gods would get knowledge, these false gods would get access to Tata nZambi's knowledge. So the Maliki Congo would have to be like, man, we got to hide it somewhere. Put it. They can't get access. This is the Holy Grail they're looking for, by the way. Okay? They're looking for the access to the power of Tata nZambi so they can go and destroy him. King Congo, we're going to take you down. How do we break this firmament? How do we do that? Okay? While they're giving these people lies, lying signs of wonder. Oh, we're going to Saturn and we're going to the Mars. People, let me show you how foolish you are. This is what I just get so I laugh how stupid we are to believe this. This is him that they worship in the days of Rome. And they say, oh, they tell you, oh yeah, the planets, they became the gods of Rome. No, man. The gods became the planets that they claim that they see. Okay? They don't understand They still worshiping these stupid gods, but in the name of science. Oh, hey, this is how ignorant the fallen angels have made the world stupid. Okay, you're talking to a fallen angel. Hello, you're talking to the. Hey, man. This is who this is the God of Christianity. This is the Christian God. Okay. That's what the world doesn't. Okay, let me show you here. Let's go deeper. I did this one the last time. This is Jesus Christos, Jesus. Okay. You see that? Does this look familiar? Doesn't this look like the same thing they put around the head of the Statue of Liberty? Are you wait? Say back in the island, my son. Are you don't? Are you stupid or what? They say back in the island, them. Are you don't have no common sense or what? Hello. You see, this is why the Most High said, "What are you doing?" 500 years ago, he's like, "What are you doing?" These people are still praying to the same gods. The Pope is deceiving them. The Virgin Mary is libertas. They just changed it. The Virgin Mary that they claim is in the Bible is Lilith. They switched it. This is the Virgin Mary you think you're praying. She does sorcery. Hold on. And make sure that this thing, because sometimes this thing, hold on. Why I hate the internet. It's on the right thing. Let me put down the front. You see, as the minute I put it in there, what starts popping up? You don't even realize this is the equivalent. This is the Virgin Mary that Rome is telling you is baby Jesus, his mother. Which is the same. And it's funny because we were watching the Da Vinci Code, and the first picture he put up there when he was talking to symbolism was Isis and baby Horus. Okay, that's the false Messiah, people. That's who you come at Easter, Ishtar. Oh yeah, the resurrection. No, they did a mockery of what would happen in the future with Kuswa Kongo Yisu. Because, like I tell you, she was using the crystal ball. I can see the future. I can, okay? They have this is what they do in sorcery. This is why they have lied to people about the fact that they knew a lot of these things that's happening to people is coming beforehand. They know what's going to happen before it happens. But then when Tata nZambi intervenes, that's when they say, oh, Tony, that's the Most High did it. Okay? Because he has stuff that he knows what he was going to do as they're doing what they think they're going to do. And then they got the robots keep saying, no one knows the day or the hour. No one knows the day or the hour. The Most High is like, man. But the Messiah said, you will know the season. Okay? But this does not apply to the Gentiles. No. Paul even made it clear. To the Jew first, then the Gentile. Let's go look at it. You think he didn't say that? Salvation comes to the muntu always. Okay, and we're gonna talk about this first real quick. Well, actually, you should know this, but let's do this real quick, and then I have to do a part 2. This is where Taina and things went south. As for Cain, when the mourning of his brother was ended, he took his sister Lulua. Okay, this is where the children of Cain come from, and married her. This is where Tubal Cain's grandmother, okay? And without her, and she was a black woman. And married her without leave from his father and mother, for they would not keep him for her by reason for their heavy heart. He then went down to the bottom of the mountain away from the garden near to the place where he had killed his brother. And in that place were many fruits and trees and forests. His sister bare him children, who in turn began to multiply by degrees until they filled that place. Then that's when they went to go build the cities, right? In where you call it, what is it? I forgot the name, sorry. But as for Adama and Mama Abba, they came not together for Abala's funeral. For 7 years, they came not together after. You see, this is where you got to be careful, because he was being visited by whom? Okay. After this hour, Eve conceived while she was with child. Adama said, come, let us take an offering and offer it up to Tata nZambi. What type of offering do you think they gave him? And asked him to give his fair child in whom they vow comfort, and whom may join in marriage to Abel's sister. They then prepared an offering and brought it to the altar and offered it before Tata nZambi, and began to entreat him to accept their offering and give them a good offspring. Now, let's go see who your grandmother is. I think it's in here. Because this is the, okay. Oh, wait, you got to go to the first book. Okay. I forget what her name is, but I'll find it. It's in the first book. Actually, they might show it here down the road. Okay. So then, this is when set the, sorry. So Eva brought forth a son perfectly beautiful in figure and countenance, and he was a black man, by the way. His beauty is like that of his father Adama, yet more beautiful. So in Seta was better looking than Adama. Then Eva was comforted when she saw him and remained 8 days in the cave. Then she sent her daughter to Adama to tell him to come and see. And the child named him, but the daughter stayed in his place by the body of her brother until Adama returned. So did she. But when Adama came and saw the child, good looks, his beauty, and his perfect figure, he rejoiced over him and was comforted for Abeli. Then he named the child Seta. That means that nZambi has heard my prayer and has delivered me out of my affliction. But it means also power and strength. And Seta. Then after Adama had named the child, he returned to the cave of treasures, and his daughter went back to her mother. But Eva continued her cave until 40 days were fulfilled. And when she came to Adama, she brought with her child and her daughter. And they came to the river where Adam and his daughter washed themselves because the sorrow of belly that ever and they washed with purification. Interesting. Water, purification. How? Well, how you baptize? Okay. That's her name. Aklia. Aklia. Aklia is your grandmother. Okay? Mama Aklia and Seta. Because that used to be Abel's wife, but he got killed. Bilaka upon them, son of Seta, and they came to the cave of treasures. As for Adama, he knew not again his wife until the days of his life, neither was any more offspring born to him, but only those five, Kaina, Lulua, Abeli, Aklia, and Seta alone. Now, those between them, he had spiritual children between him and what I told you. It's in the book of Lilith where she talk about how she messed around with Adama. That's why in the first book, he kept getting in trouble. He had to go, oh, forgive me, okay? Now, this is where you got to watch this. Satan appears as beautiful women tempting Adama. Who is that? That's Lilith. That's the she-devil. Okay? That's what we're talking about. Set stature, strength, begin to pray fervently. This is when we talk about the woman of the night. This is the mermaid spirits later. As for our father Dama, at the end of 7 years from the day he had been severed from his wife, Satana envied him, and he saw him thus separated from her, and he strove to make him live with her again. Then Adama rose and went up the curvature and continued to sleep that night. But as soon as light was every day, he came down the cave and prayed and received a bilaka blessing. But when it was evening, he went up to the roof of the cave where he slept himself, fearing lest Satan should overcome him. He continued thus apart 39 days. Then Shaitani, the hater of all good, when he saw Adama thus alone, fasting and praying, appeared unto him in the form of a beautiful woman who came and stood before him at night. And 40 days said unto him, O Adama, from the time you have dwelt in this cave, we have experienced great peace from you. And this is why we try to tell people, Shaitani knows how to do this all the time. That's what we say when you fast and pray. Who showed up? The devil. Christianity don't know this, man. And your prayers have reached us and have been comforted. But now, Adama, thou hast gone up from the roof of the cave to sleep. We have doubts about thee, and great sorrow does come upon because of thy separation from Eva. Then again, when thou art on the roof of this cave, our prayers poured out, and the hearts wander from side to side. This is why you find in the movie Beowulf, where was the dragon woman? In the cave. When thou hast a kid, I also grieve over thy children, but rejoice over the bird that said, so he's lying to him. Yet after a while I sorrow greatly over Eva because she's my sister. So see, Eva is my sister. Wait a minute, who was his sister? Okay? When Tata nZambi said these sleep over thee, I rejoice over my sister for being with thee. And lo, let's see what happens. Let's see here. It said, then again, thou art yet as a youth. End not thy youth in this world in sorrow, but spend the days of thy youth in mirth and pleasure. For thy days are few, and thy trial is great. Be strong, end the days of this world in rejoicing. I shall take pleasure in thee, and thou shalt rejoice with me in wise and without fear. Now, why am I reading this to you? Shaitani masquerades as an angel of light. and he's acting like he is in Adam's favor, telling him good things. This is what the world does not understand. This has been going on for so long. So this is why you must always question the spirit to see if it comes from the Most High. Up and then and fulfill the command of that Tata nZambi, Mfumu. Then she drew near to Adam, but when Adama saw that he should be overcome by her, he prayed to Tata nZambi with fervent heart to deliver him from her. Then Tata nZambi sent his word unto Adama, saying, so this would be an embassy, O Adama, that figure is the one that promised thee at Tata Majesty. He is favorably disposed towards thee, but shows himself to thee at one time in the form of a woman, another moment in the likeness of a Maleki, and other occasions in the similitude of the serpent, another time in the semblance of a god, but he does all that only to destroy thy soul. What are we trying to understand is this is why you cannot tell anybody that they don't believe what they believe in if he has already done it. If he has tricked you, he has done that. That's why, forgive me, Tata nZambi, okay? And see, now he's rigged the game in his favor because he's made many of us who cannot have the law of the Most High fulfill because the Most High can't break his law, and we are always fighting him every day because he has given himself the advantage because the world does not know the Most High turned the world over to the hands of the wicked. Well, they took advantage of that. That's why they need us to keep sinning. Now, therefore, O Adama, understand thy heart, and I've delivered thee many times from the hands and the order. Now, this is after what happened with him and Eva. But before, when they were in the garden, when they didn't know anything, Lilith had already done some things with him and was no longer his wife. And this is where you get the Anunnaki from, okay? And that's why he had to repent then, even then, because in the first book of Adam and Eve, Satan pretended to be this. Oh, they messed up because they kept messing up in the first book, okay? And that's why he finally said to show the devil, Adama sees the devil in his true colors, okay? And that's when he sees him. Oh, look, Adama at him, he said himself, can God be black? Would God take the form of a woman? Is there anyone stronger than God? And can he be overpowered? Now, this is how you know Rome did this. Okay? Because they're telling you in this thing, okay, the Most High is not melanated. That's a doggone. This is how you can tell the devil was involved with this, because that's a lie. Okay? But the problem was all of these Malekis were dark. Okay? But what they mean by black is a black soul. Okay? And that's how they play on the word. And can he be overpowered? Then said Adam, behold, I am bound in thy presence in the air, unable to flee away from thee. Therefore I say unto thee, be not afraid of him, henceforth take care and beware of whatever he may do to thee. Then Tata nZambi drove Satan away from Adama, whom he had strengthened, and whose heart he comforted, saying, go down to the cave of treasures, and separate not thyself from it, and I will quell in you all, animal lust. This is why the god of lust comes as an animal, the goat image. Okay? So now this is why they say animal instinct, animal lust. Oh, I must fulfill my animal instincts. Okay? So what we have to learn from this is that, and I talked about, I wanted to be quickly, you know, they say the burning of the legend of the, because see, the reason why they burned down this library is because they had Muntu knowledge that they didn't want people to get their hands on. You even see the obelisk that was in front of it. Okay, you see the Egyptian stuff. There was a lot of knowledge that was taken from there that even included the nZambi's knowledge. You see the lighthouse? This is affiliated with Babylonian things. See the lighthouse that they had there in Egypt for the ships? Okay, that comes from Babylonian history. Okay, so when we talk about where the West gets their knowledge from, you can just look at our structures. It is ancient Rome. It is ancient Greece. It is ancient Mesopotamia. You even see where it talks about mathematics. Okay, here's the Moloch God. Okay, this is the Canaan. This is Baal. You know, people don't understand is our people were deceived by this God, and the world still is deceived by this God. They just don't know it. Okay, so the forbidden knowledge that they get, this is why they would have to pass their children through the fire of Moloch. And this is what the harlot was doing with the Easter eggs, the Ishtar eggs. You realize that her name backwards is Star-ish because she really wasn't a star? Okay, that's where the ish comes from. You are, but you kind of not. Okay, the goddish, you know. And see, this is the star that you think belongs to King David. No, not even. And this god was affiliated with Samyaza, who came down on the mount of Mount Hermon. Okay, so when we talk about knowledge in the world, the Canaanites were in Africa and they were doing false god worship, and they had knowledge of how to do things because everybody was in there, because it was given to them, and the Most High gave it to us. And so now, if you see exactly what's going on, I'm gonna share the screen and show you this chart is true. And all of the societies that operate in this world in the dark, they knew that all along this was the agenda of what they had planned. Okay? All the way from Canaan down, you see the Khazars, Jesuits, bam, right there. Masons to the USA. So it ain't like they didn't know. This was to make to where the world would become Cain's seed again. Everywhere. Okay. And this was done, as they have these names down here in the bottom, between the fallen angels, Shaitani and Lilith, who then tainted the womb of Eva and Tata and caused the fall of Adama. That's why they always go to the women first. And that's what they did to us. The Muntu, the Bana Betu, what brought us down is when Shaitani went through the women. He always does. Okay? Because their spirituality is greater in many cases. That's why Paul is like, don't let them prophesy inside the house. They're going to go let the husband prophesy outside. Okay? Because they'll start saying things, and it's like, that's why even Toko was like, no, if they prophesy inside that church, they're a medium. And you got to do out is a vate. Well, let me say where the devil has tricked this now. If you have started to believe something that isn't true, the person still can be thinking like a vate, but is still a medium. This is what happened to the Bana Betu. This is what happened to the Kingdom of Congo after Solomon messed up. Many of the women became what? Mediums. Throughout, that's what Kuswa Congo, you saw when he was here, there were women who became mediums when they were interacting with the teachings that were done by the Sanhedrin. The women became like mediums. That's why he had to say, you teach the children and to break the Most High law, and you make your traditions of no effect. Well, the world doesn't understand that. That's what has happened now. The Babylonian traditions have become the belief that they took Babylonian traditions and science and knowledge and mixed it with Kuswa Congo, with Tata nZambi and Mfumu, and boom. They created the Holy Roman Empire. And that indoctrination has spun down to where you are today. Mesopotamian stuff. Even in the courts and everything. They got the Roman stuff in the United States Congress. They call it what? Oh, I forget the name. What they walk around with. The fashion, where they get fascism from. The fashion that the senators used to walk around with. Okay? So the people don't get it. When Martin Luther King, when Malcolm X said, this is Rome, this is Babylon, this is their wicked kingdom, okay, he wasn't lying. That's what the George Washington Monument means, Osiris. And that's who you're getting your mathematics and science from, and you're worshiping these same gods, and you think that you're worshiping the good one, and our people were never supposed to do this. That's why we got in trouble. But because the false spirits were tricking us in the Kingdom of Congo the Intotela 500 years ago, we argued against the nZambi, poof, back into captivity again. That's why you have to be careful that when you return to the homeland, you're not doing the same African Canaanite belief, because it was coming from there. Because that is exactly how the secret societies are operating, off of the Canaanite belief, which was an African belief. And people don't understand that. Because of what the harlot did to him. Oh, go laugh at your grandfather, Noka. Look, he's naked. Pointing out his sin. You're not supposed to do that. Look at you. You're sinning. That's what Kuswa Congo said. Who's without sin? Cast the first stone. He was throwing stones at Noka, and he got cursed. Look what happened. Hey, you're drunk over there. Naked. Exposing people's sins is something that the Most High frowns upon, and Noka proved it. Hey, you're not supposed to do that. That's why Mfumu and Yapeta covered his nakedness. Oh. But see, now the world will be judged, and these will all come out. When the judgment comes, then the Most High will be the one exposing everyone's nakedness. That is the whole reason for the gospel to come out, to really be preached, is to expose the people's nakedness in this earth that you've been lied to. So you're not preaching. Let me tell you how you know you're not getting the right gospel, is the entire world's nakedness will be exposed. That's what the Mwanda does. Okay? Even those who are hiding things will come out of the closet. Okay? Sambololo, Zola Kringi, Yave Kong Bitwala, Ingeta.